The Toronto Raptors were buyers at the NBA trade deadline, bringing in Jakob Poeltl, and they didn't end up trading any of their core pieces. Management believes that despite how the season has gone so far, this team is still capable of making a push. This is what Bobby Webster said after the NBA trade deadline.
We have a young team, and I think the development of a young team is not always going to happen in a straight line. And so I think from that perspective, last year we win 48 games, we make it to the playoffs. Not necessarily the end that we want, but I think we saw the growth. And so even early with this team, I think maybe we're 11-9 or 13-12. We go down to Orlando, and the wheels fall off for a month. But we played better. I think we've seen it on the court. Even if we've lost games, we've been in every single game. And so I think that gave us some, sense of confidence that this team is turning the corner and making a push here.
Now, when you look at the Toronto Raptors, they are currently in the final play-in spot and are 4.5 games back of the 6th spot, with just 23 games left in the season. The Raptors have won 2 games in a row and are 6-4 in their last 10 games. And if it wasn't for them blowing a late lead against the Jazz, this team would be on a 6-game winning streak right now. You can thank an easy schedule for the Raptors racking up these wins lately. Now, while most of the Raptors season has been a disappointment, you get the feeling that the Jakob Poeltl acquisition has put some new life into this team. The Raptors' final game before the All-Star break was a 10-point win against the Magic, and of course, Jakob Poeltl stole the show, making just his second start and playing just his 3rd game after being acquired from the San Antonio Spurs a week prior at the NBA trade deadline. Jakob Poeltl made his first 8 shots and eventually finished with 30 points, the most he's ever scored in 2 stints with the Raptors. He added 9 rebounds and went 15 for 17 from the floor in the Raptors' win. According to Basketball Reference, Poeltl and David Robinson are the only players in NBA history to have 30 or more points without making a free throw or a three-pointer, while also registering at least 5 blocked shots. Now, you can't expect Poeltl to go off every night scoring the basketball, and that's not his primary role, but if Jakob Poeltl can give the Raptors some much-needed offense along with everything else he does well, he's going to be a huge addition to this Raptors team down the stretch here. Real quick, guys, before we continue, if you guys can hit a like on the video, it does help it a ton, and please subscribe to the channel for more Raptors and NBA content, and your support is greatly appreciated. When you look at Jakob Poeltl, I mean, the Raptors finally have a true center, and if they are to turn their season around, you better believe it's going to be thanks in large part to Jakob Poeltl contributions and the team feeding off of this. Now, when you look at Poeltl and what he brings to this team, the Raptors defense should be better because the Raptors defense was sloppy due to them lacking a true rim protector. Now, Jakob Poeltl is of course a free agent, but the expectation is that Toronto will give Poeltl a long-term deal to be the starting center for the next few seasons. Jakob Poeltl is going to have to show that he can maintain this high level of play, and we will see if he can in fact do that, because if he can, Jakob Poeltl seems to be the answer at center, at least for the Toronto Raptors, and that's something that they have been looking for. And now, what was also needed for this Raptors team in the midst of their up and down season was a long extended break. The Raptors in total have 8 days off before their next game this Thursday against the Pelicans. This long break is a way for the Raptors to rest up, regroup, reset, and refocus. And Pascal Siakam was at the All-Star game. We saw him having a good time. And the Raptors should be ready to go for the final stretch here. No excuses. I mean, they've had a lot of time where they can just regroup as a whole, and hopefully the Raptors will be fully healthy, as Gary Trent Jr. and Precious Achiuwa did miss the Raptors' final game going into the break, and OG Anunoby is still out. I don't think there's been an update on him just yet. And on top of the break, the Raptors will also have an easy schedule coming out of the break. I know we've been talking about make or break parts of the schedule, it seems, all season long, but this right here is going to be huge for the Raptors. The next 6 games, this will tell a huge part of how this Raptors season will end up finishing, because the Raptors coming out of the break, they got the Pelicans, as I mentioned, a very banged up Pelicans team. They got the Pistons, who we know they are not worried about winning games at this point. The Cavaliers, who the Raptors haven't lost to yet. The Bulls, who I know they got Pat Beverly, but I don't think that's going to magically transform them. The Bulls are still in shambles. Let's call it for what it is. And then 2 huge matchups against the Wizards, who are ahead of them in the play-in. So the Raptors need to clean up this part of their schedule, because then after this, they go from having a very favorable 6-game stretch to a not so favorable one, a tough one at that, as they're going to have a Western Conference 6-game stretch right after this one, and they're going to have to take on the Nuggets, who are the best team in the West record-wise, the Clippers, who I have making it to the NBA Finals and winning the championship, the Lakers, who got a lot better, the Nuggets again, the Thunder, who will be fighting for their own play-in lives, and the T-Wolves, who have seemingly turned their season around and who will be doing the same of trying to stay in the play-in and try to move into that 6th spot. So this next 12-game stretch for the Raptors will determine if the Raptors will be fighting in the play-in or if they will have a chance to get into that top 6 and avoid the play-in altogether. The Raptors are currently 3 games under 500 and have a chance coming out of this break to rack up some wins. Now, can this team get to over 500 before that tough 6-game West stretch? I think that's going to be the key for the Raptors. This team chose their direction for the season, and they will compete and go for it instead of falling back and tanking. We know that. Now they got to prove to us that they made the right decision. We shall see how the Raptors end off this season. But ultimately, I do see the Raptors sticking in the play-in. Them passing the Knicks at this point, who have been playing well, will be tough. And I can see the Heat turn it on now after their big pickup of Kevin Love. I mean, worst case scenario from the Raptors' perspective, I think they will be a play-in team. But, I mean, if things completely hit the fan here, the Raptors could, of course, completely still fall out of the play-in and end up being a lottery team. So obviously, I've given my opinion in the past of how I wanted this Raptors season to play out, but management, they're like, yeah, we're not going to tank, we're not going to be sellers, we're going to be buyers, and they feel like, for some reason, the Eastern Conference is open, more open than it was before the deadline, in the middle at least, obviously with the Nets making their moves and some of these other teams falling back like the Heat. So yeah, we'll see if management's decision to go for it ultimately pays off. But how do you see the Raptors closing out the season? Do you think the Raptors are going to go on a impeccable run here to close things out? Do you think they're going to continue to be this very inconsistent team and just end up being a play-in team at best? Or do you think things are going to completely fall off for this team and they're going to fall out of the play-in? We'll see what happens. But the Toronto Raptors, as I mentioned, guys, they got 23 games left, so there is literally no room for error if this team does still have high aspirations for this season, and they got to come out of the gate running. And like I said, that 6-game stretch coming out of this break, very, very important. Keep an eye out for those games, because I think the Raptors got to go in there and at least go 5-1 or 4-2. I mean, like I said, they're going to be taking on some teams that are pretty beat up right now and playing pretty bad basketball. The only good team in that 6-game stretch will be the Cavaliers, but of course the Raptors have had their number this season. As always, thank you so much for watching. This is Lucas signing off. Hit a like and subscribe on your way out, and I will catch you all again in the next video.